want to talk about Whoopi Goldberg because I got so many texts this week because she attacked me the week before.
Sure.
So everybody was like, oh, Bill, I get you're enjoying the karma. First of all, I'm going to talk about this at the end of my show next week, teaser. But there is no thing as karma, okay? Get over that.
Political debates today feel more like battlegrounds than conversations, where facts often get steamrolled by blind loyalty. Recently, Bill Maher took center stage and went head-to-head with Whoopi Goldberg, calling out her points with his classic, no-nonsense wit. But this wasn't just another celeb drama. It was a wake-up call. Maher didn't just roast Whoopi. He exposed how fragile some mainstream narratives become when you actually dig into them with logic and reason.
Understand that part of our sorry racial history in this country is that the point of view from a black person is often going to be very different and sometimes shocking.
Maher has built his brand on calling out hypocrisy, no matter which side it's coming from. But his recent clash with Whoopi Goldberg, that one hit differently. As Whoopi leaned into the usual progressive talking points The View is known for, Maher came swinging with cold, inconvenient facts. He exposed contradiction after contradiction, and for once, Whoopi didn't have a comeback, just deflection. The moment wasn't just awkward, it was revealing. It showed how disconnected the elite liberal bubble can be from the everyday struggles regular Americans are actually dealing with.
You know, I watch your show all the time, so I know that you're a comic, but you basically go after Trump and Biden, you know, both of them. And a lot of people are not happy with you about that. I'm
not equally.
Well, not equally, because you know that Trump is more dangerous.
Of course. I mean, I don't think anybody was more out front on that danger than I was.
Before diving into the heart of the debate, we've got to break down who's in the ring. Whoopi Goldberg has long positioned herself as a passionate defender of progressive ideals, often dismissing any criticism of the left as baseless right-wing spin. She's confident, outspoken, and rarely backs down. But standing across from her is Bill Maher, not a conservative, but a classic liberal who's made a career out of refusing to follow any party line. He's known for calling out hypocrisy wherever it shows up, left or right. That fundamental difference, rigid partisanship versus independent thought, set the stage for a fiery and unfiltered exchange.
I was talking about how he was never going to give up power long ago when everybody was laughing at me and said, you smoke too much pot. And I said, I smoke just the right amount of pot. Because plainly, I was using the term slow-moving coup before he was elected the first time.
That's right.
I said, this guy is never going to concede power. It's impossible to imagine him going, oh, I lost.
The confrontation kicked off when Whoopi casually brushed aside concerns about crime, inflation, and the daily struggles of working-class Americans. Bill Maher wasn't having it. He immediately pushed back, arguing that rising costs and public safety aren't abstract talking points. They're real, urgent issues that impact everyday lives. But instead of answering directly, Whoopi deflected. Her response was vague, sidestepping Maher's concrete examples and falling back on familiar but outdated political catchphrases. The disconnect was glaring. While Maher was talking about what people are actually feeling, Whoopi leaned into rhetoric that felt out of touch with the current moment.
About saying anything against Biden, because I feel, not that I have so much power, and you have some more than I do, obviously, but
I don't know about that.
Are you afraid that you might, influence the people who are on the fence?
I think you lose all credibility.
Bill Maher, never one to let a flimsy argument slide, seized on a glaring contradiction in Whoopi's stance. He called out a common trend among progressive elites, especially white liberals, who love to claim they're fighting for marginalized communities, yet routinely ignore the issues those communities say matter most. Maher referenced polls showing that Black and Hispanic voters consistently prioritize things like economic security and public safety over the culture war debates dominating social media. But Whoopi didn't engage with those facts. Her refusal to acknowledge that disconnect didn't just weaken her case, it exposed it.
I mean, my bond with my audience has always been I don't pull a punch.
Yeah.
My bond with my audience is you're not going to like everything I say, but I'm saying what I really think is true.
Right.
That's. And look, Biden just presents as old. It's not really fair.
No.
Because he's almost the same age. Trump is almost the same age as him.
I know.
The real turning point came when Maher shifted the conversation to political hypocrisy. He brought up Hunter Biden's scandals, not to sensationalize, but to highlight how Democrats, who constantly preach transparency and accountability, suddenly go quiet when one of their own is under fire. That hit a nerve. Whoopi, visibly uneasy, tried brushing it off by claiming the media was exaggerating the issue. But Maher wasn't having it. He pressed harder, exposing the double standard and forcing Whoopi to squirm under the weight of her own party's contradictions.
Trump doesn't present that way. You know, you look at somebody right away, you can kind of just sum them up. I mean, we are not young, but we don't present as old.
Yeah.
Biden does. I saw him yesterday making that speech.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry, he's cadaver-like.
But his brain is good. He's still great.
Well, here's what I said. Like when I came back after the strike in September, I said, he should get out.
Reminded the audience of President Biden's own words. No one is above the law, right before pardoning his own son. That contradiction wasn't just ironic, it was damning. Maher used it to make a broader point. When rules only apply selectively, they stop being rules and start being tools of convenience. This, he argued, is exactly why so many Americans have lost faith in the system. Whoopi, usually quick with a comeback, stumbled here. Her defense couldn't hold up against the clarity and consistency of Maher's argument, and the crowd felt it.
I mean, a conservative once said to me, what you guys in the liberal side of it don't get about Donald Trump is we don't like him either.
Yeah.
It's just that in this country, it's binary. I mean, gender may not be binary, but politics is. You only get two choices. And the stuff that they are afraid of, they see Donald Trump as a bulwark against.
As the conversation heated up, Maher zeroed in on a topic many avoid, the media's selective silence. He criticized major outlets for downplaying or outright burying the Hunter Biden story in the lead-up to the election. According to Maher, this wasn't just bias. It was an intentional move to shape public perception and control the narrative, all while sacrificing journalistic integrity. Whoopi's response? She brushed it off, labeling it yet another right-wing conspiracy. But that dodge only strengthened Maher's point. When valid concerns are dismissed instead of debated, trust in the media crumbles.
They buried the Hunter Biden story before the election because they were like, we can't risk having the election thrown to Trump. We'll tell them after the election.
With facts and direct quotes, Maher pushed back hard, reminding Whoopi that even respected left-leaning journalists had acknowledged the Hunter Biden story was intentionally buried to sway public opinion. He argued that this wasn't just political spin. It was the clearest example of how woke ideology can twist truth into a tool for control. For Maher, the danger wasn't just bias, it was the erosion of honest debate. Whoopi, once again, couldn't offer a clear defense. Rather than confront the uncomfortable reality, she pivoted to a different topic, dodging rather than debating.
Obama had her over to the White House, like in 2013, to hint, you know, hey, spend more time with the grandkids. That would not be a good idea, Ruth. And she didn't take the hint, and she was not in good health, and she stayed too long, and she ruined her legacy and got the Supreme Court now to be a pretty right-wing organization. Said Biden shouldn't do that, but, you know, ego, he's Dracula. He has crossed oceans of time to be here, and he's not going to give it up now.
Didn't hold back as he widened the scope of the conversation, calling out the progressive movement for creating a culture where dissent is treated like betrayal. He argued that progressives often claim to fight for the working class, but ignore them when their beliefs don't align with elite narratives. Instead of engaging with this reality, Whoopi kept brushing it off, labeling every critique as right-wing noise. Maher then pivoted to the bigger picture. The Democratic Party's hard left shift is driving away the very voters they need most. Black and Hispanic Americans, two groups the left assumes are always in their corner, are increasingly skeptical. Polls show they're more likely to value patriotism, support the police, and want secure borders. Yet party leaders keep pandering to elite activists, instead of listening to those voices.
And that stuff is a lot closer to the home. It's like my kid is coming home from school and they're not allowed to tell me if they're transitioning. The school is going to take the side of the kid over the parent. Stuff like that. There is a lot of crazy stuff on the left. This book, there's stuff that each side is going to like and probably stuff they're not going to like so much in there.
Throughout the debate, Whoopi Goldberg struggled to defend her positions against Maher's fact-based challenges. Rather than directly addressing his points, she often fell back on vague talking points, emotional appeals, and deflection. This pattern is common among many in the woke movement, where sticking to ideology often takes priority over facing objective reality. A crucial moment was when Maher pressed Whoopi on the real concerns of Black and Hispanic communities, economic stability and public safety, issues they value more than progressive activism. Instead of engaging, Whoopi tried to change the subject, revealing a core weakness in woke politics, an unwillingness to face inconvenient truths. When their beliefs are challenged, figures like Whoopi often dodge the actual arguments by shifting focus elsewhere.
You used the term woke, and you said that woke is what was sort of ruining everything, and I know that you're...
No, I didn't say ruining everything. I said that's why Trump could get reelected.
That's why Trump could get reelected.
Yeah.
So the term woke has been, in my view, co-opted by the right and weaponized and bashed. And so I was surprised to hear you use the term because historically, as you know, because I think you're quite brilliant, that woke is a word used by the Black community to note that we must be aware of social injustices.
With her arguments effectively dismantled, Whoopi resorted to playing the victim. She accused Maher of misrepresenting her views and making her look bad. But Maher wasn't twisting her words. He was simply holding up a mirror, and Whoopi didn't like what she saw. Faced with hard facts, she had no solid response, exposing the weakness beneath her defenses.
Look, I'm not going to defend Donald Trump ever, but I would never say that we should put the swastika on the cap, because I think you can hate Donald Trump. You can't hate everybody who likes him. It's half the country. I don't want to live in that country. I don't want to live in the country where I hate half the country, and I don't hate half the country.
How dare you disagree with me?
Maher's takedown was especially powerful because it didn't come from a conservative. As a lifelong liberal, Maher has the credibility to challenge the excesses of the progressive movement. His refusal to conform to ideological purity tests has made him an outsider in some circles, but it's also earned him respect from those who value critical thinking and honest debate.
That's the answer to the Donald Trump situation is what's going to get him elected is this woke stuff that a lot of people in this country just don't go for.
Well, one thing that I break with is that you can disagree on candidates, but when one talks about literally upending the entire democracy, that's my hard out. There's not an equal comparison here.
The most brutal part of Maher's critique was how he didn't even need to raise his voice. With calm precision, he dismantled Whoopi's arguments one by one, leaving her nowhere to turn. Visibly shaken, Whoopi could only offer vague rebuttals that did nothing to restore her credibility. Ultimately, this debate went beyond just Whoopi Goldberg. It reflected a broader shift in American politics. More people are starting to see through the double standards and contradictions within the woke movement. Maher, once a liberal icon, has become one of its fiercest critics, not because he changed, but because the movement abandoned its core principles.
It's not a bad thing, and originally that was absolutely a great thing. Alert to injustice, who's not for that? But words do migrate. Now, I'll use any term you want, because maybe that is a word that's triggering, and so let's not use that word. I don't know, want to call it the super far left, but don't tell me the left
Or maybe the super far right.
This debate with Whoopi Goldberg highlights a deep divide within liberalism. Maher represents an older generation of liberals who value free speech, rational debate, and a focus on practical issues. In contrast, the woke movement has increasingly prioritized ideological purity, cancel culture, and social activism over solving real problems. This shift has left many traditional liberals feeling alienated from the movement they once supported. Maher's critique points out how the Democratic Party has moved so far left that it often ignores the everyday concerns of Americans. Issues like inflation, crime, and education matter far more to average voters than debates over gender pronouns, or microaggressions. Yet, woke activists continue to dominate the public conversation, pushing an agenda many liberals see as disconnected from real life. Maher's boldness in calling out these contradictions makes him one of the few mainstream voices willing to challenge the excesses of progressive ideology.